So there's a new billboard on the block, an organization called the Job Creators Network, calling out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her role in Amazon's departure from New York City, departing before it ever came in. They wrote on a giant billboard, which you see there in New York City's Times Square, quote, 25,000 jobs lost, $4 billion in lost wages, $12 billion in lost economic activity for New York. Thanks for nothing, AOC. And the man behind the billboard is Alfredo Ortiz, is the president and CEO of the aforementioned Job Creators Network. He's here with us in our studio, which is really right down the block from the billboard in Times Square. So you're making quite a point with this.
Yes.
And, she's been quite vocal in her positioning. But what are you trying to get across? It's fairly obvious, but...
yeah, well, it's almost, I want to say, like in the words of Homer Simpson, doom!
Yeah.
Because it really was kind of one of those moments. I mean, we really think about what happened here. I mean, she thought that there was a $3 billion check written to Amazon, basically, for this. We know there isn't. It was an incentive. And when you look at the math, and again, I'm not a math major, but it's $27 billion, basically, in revenues that were expected to come over a period of time.
Right.
Cost of $3 billion, $24 billion net. I don't know. That sounds like a pretty darn good deal, but...
Yeah, so you're trying to get that message out to her. You haven't heard directly from her office?
No, we haven't, but again, 25,000 jobs lost, average of 150,000. She calls them scraps, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. I know I was looking at her own Twitter account last night. It was before we, this got in the news, but she did have something of a response. We'll put up some of her tweets on the screen from AOC. Frankly, the knee-jerk reaction, assuming I don't understand the tax giveaways, how they work, that's disappointing. No, it's not possible that I could come to a different conclusion, clearly sarcastic. And she says the debate must be over my intelligence and understanding instead of the merits of the deal. And then one more, she says, there's no way this deal, one of the biggest giveaways in state history, could possibly have been bad, right? Surely there can't be anything wrong with suddenly announcing a massive restructuring and pricing out of a community without any advance notice or input from them. So she's like, basically, hey, I knew what I was talking about all along, and basically the community, which, by the way, she doesn't directly represent. She represents a neighboring district, but she says the community wasn't consulted in on the deal.
I mean, it's interesting. You almost kind of want to sit there and say, it'd almost be more comforting for us to think that she just made a mistake than to think that she actually purposefully tanked a deal like this.
Right.
Again, when you think of 25,000 jobs, on average 150,000.
And it was supported. We covered it on the day.
Yeah, exactly. Right. 6%, roughly 70% of the folks really supported, right?
Yeah.
Again, $4 billion in wages annually. When you look at the economic, and that's what I really want to focus on here. This is the message I want to focus on. It's the lost economic activity to Long Island City, to New York. When you think about what that happens, it's not just the big corporate aspect of this. I mean, it's the pizza guy down the street, the dry cleaners, the shoe guys, the deli guys.
Yeah, it's the multiplier effect.
The multiplier effect,
as economists talk about. Now, there is a larger debate, I think, that's fair here about these tax incentives, whether that's the best path to go down. Have we learned anything from this? Maybe a lower tax base for everyone's better, better business conditions, rather than this, winner or loser tax incentive.
Right. I mean, the way I say, you had the two chief executives, one of the state and one of the city, working on this deal together to make it happen. I mean, they obviously thought it was the right thing to do. I don't know all the details necessarily related to it, but they obviously worked a long time to make this the right thing. They thought it was worth it. They thought it was the right thing. And they're not exactly, conservative bastions either. So,
not at all.
So they thought it was a good idea. Right, exactly.
Both Democrats, but especially the mayor.
Right.
Yeah.
So they thought it was a great idea, and it really was. Again, I got to focus on the lost economic activity of just hardworking Americans who had an American dream. And in this particular case, they saw a great opportunity to grow their businesses, and overnight it was basically gone because of really a lack of understanding.